Welcome to Dear Young Queen, the podcast. How you feel, Lex?
This drink is
warm.
Hey, this is dope.
Yeah, you like it?
Yes,
The little
girl,
pineapple?
this is good.
Yeah, you need a little air. You want some water?
Yeah, I could use
You've been wearing these sweatshirts all
Yo,
day.
I've been wearing
You've been wearing sweatshirts all day.
I got one ab, and now I'm like,
Yeah, now you want to crop it.
crop it.
It's like, what's that
Thank
meme?
you.
Works out after an hour. Damn, you look good.
That be me though. I'd be like, oh,
Thank you.
look how that waist coming in.
That's me after every Pilates class. Like, damn, that getting fat, girl. Good for you.
You did that.
After a 45-minute class.
Yeah. Let us know whenever you're ready, sis.
Okay, ho.
Oh. H to the O-V.
I'm moving snowflakes like the
Lex,
Yes.
we got a real young queen in here today.
We do. Welcome to Casa Lex.
It's beautiful. Listen,
Thank
I know
you.
everyone can't see the whole thing, but it's gorgeous in here. It's like a museum,
Thank
but
you.
like the flyest museum possible. I
Thank you
absolutely
so
love
much.
it. It's a vibe here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, ladies, for those of you that are not familiar, sitting with us here today is Miss Ashley Nicole Moss,
Hi, ladies. It's so good to see you guys again.
a New York City queen, Forbes 30 under 30,
Beautiful.
the first female non-athlete host of I Am Athlete.
Yes.
We could keep naming. She got projects. We'll talk about them.
Love it.
We'll talk about them. We're going to talk life, love, sports, work, career, all that.
I'm excited. It's different for me being on the other side of this, but I like it.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one asking all the questions. So this is now I know what it feels like. So hopefully, it's not too bad.
Sit back, relax, enjoy your drink.
Which is fabulous, by the way. You did your thing on this.
Thank
It's
you.
good. It's real good.
Lex, what are we drinking today?
We're going to call this the Pine Island.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
What's in it?
We have pineapple juice. We have Cointreau. We have tequila.
Of course.
And then we have just some lime. So just real easy.
Nice.
We're keeping
Love
it
that.
light.
Ash, you had a birthday.
I did.
Are you Aquarius or a Capricorn?
I'm a Capricorn.
all right.
I'm a true Capricorn
Okay, fine,
queen,
fine,
you
fine.
know. Yeah, it was not that long ago. It was January 13th. My 30th.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah, you know what? I
Good
used
for
to
you.
think like 21 was big and then
Of course.
25 was big, but 30 was different. And like age it's not something that I think about. It's not something that I stress about. But I will say that leading up to 30, because 27 to 29 is like, they're weird years.
Yes.
But leading up to 30, I started having like anxiety attacks, like
Yeah.
about a variety of different
Just
things.
turning 30?
Turning 30, realizing that I'm entering that new decade, that new chapter of my life, and just like reflecting, and that reflection giving me like slight anxiety that I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do in my 20s, or I'm not where I thought I was going to be in my 20s. And what does that mean? Is like, oh my God, is my life falling apart? And then it's crazy. I turned 30 and it's almost like a light switched. And it was like, oh, this is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like it's dope here.
I'm
Like,
telling you, I had the exact same
Yes.
experience. You hit it on the head. It's the pressure. We set all these expectations when we're younger that like by 30, I'm going to be married. By 30, my career's going to be here.
Girl.
By 30, I'm going to own a
That's
home. By 30,
societal, though.
100%.
And biological,
Yes,
unfortunately.
that's
It's also
true.
biologically true.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like the moment, like literally the day you turn 30, that pressure is like, well, I didn't make it. Like, oh well.
Now what?
Moving on.
Right,
And then you're
right,
like,
right.
damn, I got a whole nother decade to try to make the thing shake that I
right.
want to shake. I'm telling you, girl, in your 20s, like you trying to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in your 30s, the opportunities start changing. You start knowing how to
That's right.
ask for the things that you want.
Yes.
Instead
And not
of
being
being great-
afraid to ask for the things that you
No
want
fear.
to.
In your 20s, you're just like kind of grateful for the opportunity.
Yes.
I'm
It's
just
a-
happy
it's a
to
grind.
be here.
Yeah.
Thank you so
It's
much.
a grind.
Yeah.
But the 30s are fly. The men are fly.
Well, that's up
Opportunities
for
are fly.
that's up for debate. The men that's up for debate.
I guess I'm the elder sitting here. I'm tapping in.
Yeah,
I'm
you-
40.
Officially.
Girl don't look a day over 25.
Yeah,
Stop.
officially. Yeah, so
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
both have big birthdays
These
this
are
year.
milestones, though. But
Yeah.
it's definitely that when you get to that certain point, especially as women, you start to tap into your essence.
Mhm.
And at that point, nobody can alter it. Nobody can tell you about yourself because you like, this is who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
and this confidence and just everything is starting just to fall into place.
Yeah. There's like a technical term though for like what happens between 27 and 29. It's like some sort of return. I don't know. Mary, do you know what that thing is called? We got to Google it. The latter years of your 20s when you felt that, like that wasn't just you. Yeah. That was like a shift in your life, that whatever the rotation is, we're going to find out. We're going to bring it back up. But it's real. And then when you hit 30, that shit clears. It's like the highway opens up.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely felt it. It's almost like when the clock hit 12 and like I was 30, I was like, okay, this is who I am.
Yes.
I'm going to get better. But who I am is pretty dope. It was like this, it was almost like this like peace that I felt that the years leading up fretting about 30 kind of wasn't so bad once I got there. And that doesn't mean that like everything's perfect. There's so many things I want to accomplish. There's so much that I haven't done and there's still so much that needs to be done. And I have no idea when it's going to happen, but that's cool. Like
for you to sit in that.
Yes.
Accept it.
I guess in your 20s, you have this need for control because you have this idea of what your life is supposed to look like. Okay, I gotta do this at 25, this at 21, this at 27. And it stresses you sometimes. And I think when I hit 30, and I'm speaking like I'm 5 years into 30, and it's only been a couple of weeks, months, whatever. I feel like you kind of come to terms and there's a piece that like I got this far.
You hit that Forbes 30 under 30 list by 30.
I know.
Those are things to be super, super proud of. You're here in
Absolutely.
Miami. You're not from Miami originally. Where
No,
you
from New York.
What
Yeah.
part? What
I was born in Brooklyn. I lived in Queens for a little while, also Long Island. So I consider myself a true New York girl because I've been in multiple places. So yeah.
And when did you come to Miami? What brought you here?
So I moved down for college. I went to FAU and I never went back.
What did you study?
I studied journalism, but it was broadcast. I was actually multimedia journalism. So at FAU, they have a really cool program. They know that journalism's changed. It's not newspaper journalism anymore. So they taught us the traditional way. So we knew how to interview in like newspaper style and what that looked like. But we also learned multimedia things. So blogging, we learned video production. We learned being on a mic, whether it was radio. So we learned so many different aspects. And it was cool because you really found the avenue and the lane that you felt comfortable in.
That's right.
And you were able to kind of hone in on that. And for me, it was always sports, but I didn't know like, I knew where I wanted to end up, and that was obviously the ESPNs. And I thought at graduating college, I would walk out with my degree and say, ESPN,
like,
I'm here.
I'm ready.
What's up?
good?
I'm ready. That didn't happen. So it was cool to have the knowledge in different spaces because that definitely came in handy when ESPN did not come knocking at 22.
Yeah.
Because they did not.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. But you're one of the few people that I've run into recently that what you went to school for and what you studied is the career path 10 years later that you're still in this career path.
Yeah.
And what's your motivation? What made you want to study broadcast journalism?
So I actually, like when I was a kid growing up in New York, I was like involved in like commercials and auditions and things like that. But it takes a certain type of kid to be able to do that. Like you have to be able to deal with rejection and you have to be able to kind of like, okay, I'm going to go to the next one. And I took the rejection very hard, like as a kid.
That's
I didn't understand like, why did they pick
great.
me?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get it. So like it ended up not being for me, but I was always very shy and introverted. And being in front of a camera is where I kind of like flipped the switch.
Yes.
So I realized that there were other avenues as I got older that I could still be in front of a camera and flip that switch. And I always loved sports. I played. My dad and I, he's a huge sports fan. And that was like the way we bonded. We would sit and watch games together. And there was a point in high school where it switched from just watching it leisurely. Then I really understood the logistics of it. And I really wanted to get into, okay, why did this trade happen? And what's this play? And what's this and that? And I really took the time to learn it. And my love of writing and love of being in front of the camera, everything just kind of collided. And that's when I realized that like, I can go to school for this and I can do this.
Did you play sports?
So I played soccer, basketball, I did volleyball. So I played multiple sports throughout my life. I wasn't like a D1 athlete.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but
you're active.
Duke wasn't calling me. UNC wasn't calling me for a scholarship, but I'm active and I work out. And I loved just the competitiveness of sports.
Yeah.
And I loved the stories of the athletes who played sports. And I just knew that in some capacity, I wanted to be in that world.
We've had a guest on last month. She's in private wealth management. And she also kind of spoke about the bonding time she had with her father when it came to sports. I grew up in Chicago in the 90s. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That was my time with my dad, right? In front of those Bulls games, going to his friend's house.
What a huge bar, by the way.
Right, like
yeah.
And as a Knicks fan, that's not going to sit well with my dad. In the 90s.
What about you, Lex? Was your dad a sports guy, or what?
It was the whole family. My mom still doesn't miss a game. She's telling me what time the playoffs are.
Yeah.
And we're huge Chiefs fans, Kansas City, Missouri. But our basketball team was Chicago because that was the closest city. Yeah. But it was like college and then,
big Kansas, big college city.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
What was your dad's team?
So my dad's a diehard New York Knicks fan.
Okay.
So I've been a Knicks fan since birth. So I have seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the uglier, the ugliest.
Yeah, I've seen sometimes
I've seen
MSG.
sometimes. But yeah, like the Knicks. My dad's a diehard Yankees fan, so I grew up watching the Yankees. Yeah. And then we're Dallas Cowboy fans in my household. So that's a toxic relationship.
It's a little touchy right
It's a super toxic relationship. That's why I have trust issues, maybe. I don't know.
You can't.
I can't depend on them for anything.
Do you have a sport that you feel like you're most interested in?
I would say football and basketball are usually the sports that I tend to really hone in on and follow those storylines and follow those, games and rivals and beefs and things like that. Those are the two sports that were most popular in my household. It's probably a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, same.
But I like to be well-versed in multiple sports because in my career, you're already coming in at a deficit as a woman, as a Black woman. So you have your favorites, but you also kind of have to know everything,
across the board.
Yeah.
So you come out of college, you're sure ESPN is going to call.
Oh, I was. You couldn't.
What are you talking about?
I thought they were going before I even walked across the stage to get my diploma. They're going to be waiting for me at the other side.
Like we've been waiting on you.
Finally, like you're here. Did not happen.
But they didn't call.
They did not call.
So how do you create an opportunity for yourself in sports broadcasting if at the time too, let's be honest, like now there's all these social media platforms and different forms of digital media that you can do. 10 years ago, it was really still mainly television and radio.
Yeah. I mean, I got lucky in the sense of my internship turned into a job.
Okay.
So I interned at the CW in my senior year in college. And then when that ended, I started working at NBC, like a little small division where basically we would cover Pop Warner games. We weren't covering NFL. We were covering little kids. Like we were covering like Flo Rida's team and they were playing like Snoop Dogg's team.
Which was a big deal.
It's a big deal in the South.
Florida especially. Yeah, you're right. South
it's
is
huge. And I didn't realize how big it was, but that gave me the exposure or rather the knowledge and the game of interviewing coaches on the field and doing that. And then from there, things kind of went dry for a while. And I did have to go and get a retail job.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget how embarrassed I was and how I felt that like I had failed because it was like I was working in my field, in my industry, and then I wasn't. Yep. And I had to go. I worked in an optical. And I worked there for like 2 years, almost 3 years while I was trying to find my next job. Yeah. And nothing was happening. And I remember there was a point when I would go to that job and I would say, please don't let anybody walk in here that I know because I don't know how I'm going to like explain this.
Yeah, you felt like you did fail.
I felt like I had failed.
Y'all were supposed to know that I was going to be in ESPN the minute I was done with school.
Right. I did everything right. I went to school. I got my degree. Yes. I turned my internship into a job. Like this was just supposed to keep flowing.
That's the checkoff list.
But guess what? Real life will come at you real fast.
That's right.
And that's the key is like you think, okay, if I do everything right, and that's just in life. You think if you do everything right, the end result is going to be what you thought it would be. So I did that. I went to school. I graduated with a 3.8 GPA. I did my internship. I stayed out of trouble. I stayed focused. And I was like, okay, my reward is going to be ESPN.
Right.
And like the universe, God was like, yeah, you thought, but that's not what it's going to be. ESPN did not come calling until I was 29 years old. Wow. They did not come knocking on my door until I was 29. Mind you, I graduated college at 22.
Yeah. 7 years.
7 years later is when they came knocking.
How do you get yourself out of that funk? How do you get yourself out of, I am not where I want to be. Yeah. What I want isn't working for me, but I got to keep trying. Yeah. Because like you were that kid, enough no's and acting and modeling turned you off. Didn't turn you off. Why were you able to keep persevering in this area and trying to find ways to create opportunities?
There were a lot of times when like months would go by and there'd be no job offers and I would be doing like little gigs here and there. Like I would throw all these things to the wall, nothing would stick. Yeah. There were so many times I was like, all right, this is just not gonna work. Yeah. This is not for me. this is not going to happen. This is not something that is meant for me. Like, let me just give up. Let me just walk away. It's not too late to like pivot and do something else.
And let me pivot now before it looks real bad later.
Right. Before I also had like, I put an age limit on myself. Like, I can't be 30. Mind you, that's that 30 thing again.
30 thing.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't be 30 just starting in this industry because there's already a unfortunate time restriction for women. Men can do this job until they're 70.
What do you mean?
Right.
Sometimes too long.
Right. Boy, like forever. A woman, it's almost like they put an expiration date on you in this industry because they're looking at the next thing that's coming in. So you're like, all right, that time's ticking against me. Now I'm competing with other people who are moving and grooving. And here I am like not knowing. It was hard. And there were a lot of times I wanted to give up. My family wouldn't let me. Like my mom especially was like, you can't. Like, I'm not going to let you. Like, I don't care how many 9-to-5 jobs you have to work while doing this. I'm not letting you give up on this because it's going to happen.
She also knew how long you wanted it, how bad you wanted it.
That too.
She also put her dollars for you to go to school.
That's
right.
Like, our parents truly know the desires of our heart. And Lex, you can even share with us is like, once you become a parent, how real that is.
You know what I kind of parallel to are the bumpers in a bowling alley. You know, you can roll the perfect whatever strike, but then like those bumpers are there just to bring you back.
Just in case. Just in case. Yeah.
Just in case you want a gutter ball.
I can control everything that's in this house. The minute they step outside, it's no longer in my control, you know?
Right.
Because it's hard out here.
Oh, it's and
hard.
There are so many people that are quick to tell you, oh, you can't.
Oh,
it's not going to happen. Oh, it can, but you have to be this way.
Or it doesn't look like, you don't look like.
Right. And that happened to me very early in my career. I remember when I was at NBC, if you look back on like old footage of me during that time in my career, my hair is constantly straight. It's rarely ever curly because someone told me, oh, that looks better on camera. That appeals better. And, you know, you can't be if you look
too ethnic.
You know what I mean? If you look at old video clips of me, you'll see that I have strategically tried to change my accent because someone told me, oh, New Yorkers don't sound very smart. You can't do that on air. So I would be like, so today we had a cup of coffee I would watch these clips and it didn't feel
inauthentic.
Good. And it messes with you because you're already a young woman trying to like figure out who you are. You're figuring out your sexuality. You're figuring out what you like, what you don't like. You're trying to make that transition from a teenager to a woman in her 20s. And now you're dealing with that, but you're also dealing with people telling you have to be X, Y, and Z in order to be successful. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not Erin Andrews. Like, I'm never going to look like that. I'm never going to be that.
Let's keep it 100. Really, I want to say the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It looks way different.
So different.
Way different night and day. Now the players are matching the commentators. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you all.
Yeah.
Extremely. I love seeing that.
The lanes have certainly opened up.
Yeah.
But on the same lines of they wanted you to look a certain way, wanted you to sound a certain way. You're a pretty girl working in a male-dominated industry. So there's also the stigma of like, well, why is she here?
Or
like,
does
she really know her? And how did she get here?
Girl. All of that.
How did she get here?
Girl.
I'm already trying to change my look for you. I'm trying to change my voice for you. Now I got to defend where my legs are, where my legs are.
Where my eyes go.
He's shooting his shot this way. I'm trying to keep my job. Like, that's not an easy lane to navigate.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it's something that continues. Like you said, I was on Forbes. And it's still like, oh, why is she here? Like, you could literally have every accolade in the book, and it will still be you're there to fill a quota, whether it's the race quota, the gender quota, or every time I sit down with an athlete, it's, oh, she's sleeping with him. Oh, she's sleeping with him. Oh, she's sleeping with him. Like, if you let the internet tell it, I have a whole starting 5, a whole bench. Like, it's very impressive. Like, I could probably go win a chip right now. Like, you know what I mean? I could win an NBA championship right now with the people who are technically, allegedly on my roster.
And it's like, also, I wouldn't be working.
You think I'd be grinding as hard if I was? Like, come on. I'd be kicked up by my feet by the pool, like at sacks every other day. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, it's constant. And it's hard because a lot of the people you'll be tied to are in relationships, you know, whether they have wives or girlfriends. And not everybody has the sound mind to say, oh, it's just talk. And Lex, you can speak on that. Sometimes some of it is true.
Of course.
So like you're already dealing with like groupies and regular people. Now you also got to worry about people who are there to just do their job. If I were a wife or a girlfriend, I'd be like, oh no, we not.
I'm not doing that.
We're not doing it. Like get it. So it's just being extra cautious. People are always going to come up with their own narratives, but I always put myself in a space where it'd be a drastic reach if you came from a narrative that like anything other than professionalism happened between me and so. So it's extra work on my part, but I feel like it's necessary.
Especially when you're someone that went to school, someone that hustled. It's up to have to defend your name.
Right, because they don't say Stephen A. Smith sleeping with Kevin Durant when they sit down
together.
That's
what I'm trying to say.
It's so whack. I remember when I was growing up and watching sports, there weren't many women that looked like me.
No.
Were there any commentators you looked up to?
I mean, you had Robin Roberts, but she was already on Good Morning America by the time I started really diving into that. You have people like Pam Oliver and Lisa Salters and people like that. But I mean, for the most part, it was a very small group. And even within them, they all kind of fit this very polished, very experienced, very wise, very just more of a mature kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
And I think now the women coming into this space, the young women in college now can see, oh, I can wear hoop earrings on TV, or I can wear red lipstick, or I can wear Jordans, or I can locks or braids. It's so many different looks that they now have to say, okay, I see myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful space to be in, because I think this next generation that comes in after mine, they're going to look drastically and they're going to be drastically different. It's going to be a lot easier for them, I feel like.
You're still in your grind, you're still hustling, but sometimes you look back and at least feel like you were a part of that change.
My mom tells me this saying sometimes, and she says the meaning of opening a door is more than just being polite. It's to make the destination for that person a little bit easier than it was for you. Whether it's the same place, whether it's a slightly different place, they don't have to open that door. They can just kind of walk through it and then go over whatever obstacles they have to face. So for me, I feel good knowing that the next girl from Brooklyn, New York is not going to have to work as hard as I had to get into the same place. And that there's going to be a role for her, whether it's traditional journalism or she wants to do the new media space, or she wants to go into podcasting, or she wants to do her own YouTube channel. Like, all of that is possible because me and a bunch of other women have opened those spaces and made it that you don't have to fit a mold to exist. You know what I mean?
I love observing this transition.
Yeah.
I have been unofficially in sports for 20 years. So it's like on that professional level. So just to see this wave of excitement and different energy is just beautiful to witness. So I admire you guys for that.
No, thank you.
Absolutely.
So you kept pushing. You kept pushing.
Yes.
You got an opportunity with Sports Illustrated. They were like, what, trying to expand? What? Talk to us about Laces.
So when I started with SI and we started doing Laces Out, I wasn't even fully employed. I was a contractor. They hadn't offered me a position yet. They were trying to build up their video department, and they wanted to do a sneaker show. Now, the sneaker space was so oversaturated. Complex was running it.
Yeah,
like they had that in the bag. And I said, we're not going to be able to compete with that because the audience of Sports Illustrated does not know the difference between an Air Force One and a Jordan 1. So I said, I like the act of storytelling. So let's interview athletes who have a direct correlation to sneakers, but it's not just about sneakers. So we did that. The NBA picked that show up in its first season, and I was still a contractor. And then towards the end of season 1, they were dragging their feet on giving me an offer. The Dallas Cowboys came calling.
Oh, not your favorite team.
And it was a dream come true, mind you. When they called me and they were like, we want you to come be our like team reporter or in-house reporter or whatever, I was like, whoa, okay. So I told SI, I was like, if you can't match it or do better, I'm out. They literally the next day sent me an offer, and it was a great offer. And it was a historic one because I was the first Black woman to ever have that position. When I got there, I said, I'll sign this on with one stipulation, is that I need the creative freedom to create the content that I know everybody wants to see now, because that generation that only reads magazines doesn't exist anymore. Right. Social media now runs this game, and social media is ran by Black Twitter and the culture and minorities. Like they determine what's hot and what's not. Yeah. So I need the freedom to be able to create that. They said, as long as it's in our budget, you can do it. I feel like we really flipped the narrative of what SI was known for. And my goal was always not only to use the platform to raise my brand and build my brand up, but I wanted to make sure that they now know that diversity works.
Good for you.
So the next woman that comes in who may not be blonde hair, blue eyes, they'll look at her and say, well, listen, we hit the jackpot when Ashley was here, so let's do it. And I feel like I did that. So I was able to walk away with that.
Well, we just happened to catch you on the heels of another big announcement.
Yeah.
A new step.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast space, sis.
Thank you.
Welcome to podcast
New territory.
You are the first female voice. Lex was a part of the first class of women.
I was.
I am athlete chain.
I mean, it's crazy. Like that cast has always been men and former football players or some aspect of football, writer, beat writer, whatever the case may be. And I'm excited. I think it's another barrier to break down. And even when the announcement came out, there were some people like, why do we need a woman here? Just keep it football players and da-da-da. So I think it's important to know that women can exist in these spaces with men. And it's not watering down the product. Correct. It's elevating the product because we provide a different perspective. We see things differently than men do.
That's right.
We have different ideas. We have different emotions on things. We have overall
emotion.
We have just different vibes. And I think that those vibes together create really just a dynamic conversation on certain topics. Yes. So I'm excited to hopefully elevate.
Yeah, that's a great challenge.
But also, listen, diving into a new media space and diving into something that's not backed by a giant machine.
Corporation,
Listen, that is scary. Stressful. And it's scary. I'm like, damn, I'm about to be 30. Like, do I really want to take this risk? I'm trying to elevate, not go backwards. But, you take the risk and it's big risk, big reward, hopefully. So
it will be.
Yeah,
we do know Shady around here, which is a big personality, sis. We know Brandon around here. Another big personality.
Pac-Man Jones.
This is what we're saying. Sis, these are big personalities.
That's a lot of energy.
That is a lot of strong male
How do I
energy
deal with that?
to take on. How has it been so far for you?
You know what? It's been good. I think, honestly, when you go into a situation and you hold yourself to a certain standard and you have your non-negotiables and you have your boundaries and you're not afraid to say no and you're not afraid to push back, but it's in a respectful way, I don't see how people can honestly just not rock with that.
Yeah.
And if they don't, those are necessarily not the people that you want to work with. Correct. And I went into that situation like, I know you guys have been working together and I know your resumes in the NFL and I know your resumes within this brand that you've built up and you've done a great job, but I bring a lot to the table. I'm not going to compromise that. Yeah. And you're going to respect it. So I think we're in a good space because that's how I've entered into it.
And to be fair, you're a strong personality type.
Yeah.
So you can meet them at some of that.
Yeah, you want to go to toe, baby. We can go toe to toe if you want to.
You can meet them at some of that masculine energy as well. You don't just have the demure feminine energy that might not work well in that room.
And it took me a very long time to be comfortable existing in that because a lot of the times when you're in business and you say no or you're firm and you have boundaries, you're a bitch. Whereas a man's a boss. Yeah. A man gets applauded for that. Like, he's about his business. He's about his paper. You are deemed difficult. You're deemed a diva. You're deemed a bitch. You're deemed all these things. And it used to bother me because I didn't want to be unliked. I didn't want to come across problematic. I wanted to make sure everybody wanted to work with me because I was easygoing and I was easy breezy. But I was like, at what cost?
You're only going to get more comfortable with it in your 30s.
That's right.
Yeah. You're only going to get more comfortable. Not just in your work life and your personal life.
I'm looking forward to it in my personal life because let me tell you, I've said a lot. I've said yes, and I've given too many chances to people in my 20s that I probably should not have done it. So I'm looking forward to that.
You hit that 40? No.
No, man. What about, sir? No. Do you want to? No. Can you? No.
It's a no for me.
It's a no for me.
Yeah.
So I think that you are doing great in that role.
Yeah.
We're excited to hear you continue to hold your own for the ladies. And
for sure.
Thank
you.
ESPN.
Get your stuff together.
Listen.
They'll circle back. I know.
They definitely will. They definitely will. There's like a technical term though for like what happens between 27 and 29. It's like some sort of return. I don't know. Mary, do you know what that thing is called? We got to Google it. That feeling that you were feeling between 27 and 29, something happens to you. It's called a Saturn return.
Oh.
And it happens to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In horoscopic astrology, a Saturn return is an astrological transit that occurs when the planet Saturn returns to the same longitude that it occupied at the moment of your birth.
Wow, that's deep.
While the planet may not first reach the exact location until the person is 29 or 30 years old. The influence of Saturn return is considered to start in the person's late 20s, notably the age of 27. And then the first Saturn return is seen at the time of reaching full adulthood and being faced perhaps for the first time with adult challenges and responsibilities. It is like the first time that your whole being is like, oh shit, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy to hear you as someone that's closer to this experience. As we sit on this platform, our goal is definitely to speak to all types of women, but to also be an example for women that like, sis, everything that you're going through is normal.
Yeah, I mean,
normal.
It's normal. You're sitting here talking about how you worked at an optical place. I went to school for music business. By the time I was 24, I had an office in Atlantic Records. I had the man, I had everything. By 28, my shit was upside down, right?
Yeah.
Looking for a job. I took a job for $25 an hour. You know how much NYU costs?
a whole lot of cash.
Sis, like this is real. And what happens to us at that late 20s is like literally what shapes us into the women that we become.
Yeah.
It's so crucial that like we need you as someone who's like a little girl wants to be doing broadcast journalism and sees you sitting now in one of the biggest podcasts like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Sis, that does not come easy.
No.
And without those struggles, without that hustle, without those stumbles, you actually cannot be who you are sitting in the positions that you are. So to me, it's just like, it's so important that not only are we sharing these highlight reels, not only are they seeing your big announcements, your Forbes under 30. Sis, there were years under 30 that you didn't even think you would probably see that list.
Forbes 30 under 30 has been on my vision board since I was in high school. When I was 28 years old, I had became a candidate, but I never made it to the final list. And I remember being so disappointed. I'm scrolling and my name's nowhere on it. Nowhere. I'm like looking through the sport. I think I scrolled through that sports section at least like 7 times. Like maybe I missed it.
Yeah,
Let me just
maybe I forgot how my name was
like
spelled all of a sudden.
that
Right.
part.
And it wasn't there. And then 29, I literally the last time you can make it, because you have to be 29
You gotta
before
be 29.
December 31st to make that list. And then I wake up that morning and my phone's blowing up and everyone's like, congratulations. Da, da, da. And I was like, there is no way that I'm on this. Like,
And
there's
you
no
did
way.
it. Yeah.
There's no way. And I
Yeah.
see it and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like it actually, it's there. Like it actually happened.
That's
And
dope.
that was a huge moment.
And it's so crucial to know that life is that. It's ebbs and flows.
Mm.
There are moments where the shit is low as low.
Oh,
Yeah.
Low. That shit is low as I know the same way I felt taking that job, hopping on that bus was the same way you felt at that optical center.
Girl, I used
Which
to be
is
in
the
that
sit-
place like this, like,
Yeah.
please don't look, I'm not here. Like, I'm not here. Yeah.
And it just, you have to trust the process.
Mm.
If you're running your race, right? You don't look left, you don't look right. In a race, sometimes you're going to sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're going to jog. Sometimes you're going to catch a fucking cramp.
Oh, the cramp's the worst.
You hear me? But
Yeah.
as long as you're on that path and you're running that race in the same direction, you're going to get to a finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There ain't no choice
Even if
but
it's a
to.
marathon.
And
That
it
shit
usually
might be 26
is.
miles, boo.
26.2.
That shit might be 26.2, but you're going to finish it.
Yeah.
You're going to finish it.
That's right.
Which is what it is. And I want women to hear your story, to hear my story, to know Alexis's journey, to just understand that like we're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own paths,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately you got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just have
Nonstop.
to keep going.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, here at Dear Young Queen, the podcast, this is a podcast about first and last.
Okay.
So every guest that comes on here, we ask them a first question and we ask them a last question.
Yeah.
We got a couple for you because we got some time.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right? You know I want to talk this shit about dating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Girl, we can. Shoot, that's a whole different podcast. Like, let's do it.
Let's
Right,
go.
right. They so busy listening to you talk sports. Let's hear
Right.
We're going to talk something else here today. So I want to know
Mm-hmm.
about the first time you ever fell in love. I don't want to know about your first
You know
crush.
what?
I don't want to know about the first guy you dated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to know the first time you believe you felt truly like you were in love.
I definitely have felt like I was in love, but I don't think I've ever actually been in love.
Really?
I think I've been in deep infatuation. I think I've been in deep, even obsession, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back on it, I look at the guys that I was like heavily invested in. I don't think it was love. And when I say I don't think, I know it wasn't love. So I'm still waiting for that part of my life. Like, it hasn't happened yet. I've been in situations where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I love him. But then I'm like, when it's over and done with, I was like, oh, that wasn't love. Girl, you were just obsessed. Like, it was, you were just very deeply infatuated with this man, but that was not love. Lust, exactly. It wasn't what I thought it was. So that hasn't happened yet.
So do you think that it wasn't because of reciprocation, because of the timing, because of like what didn't define it as love?
I think it was lack of reciprocation is a big one. I think I was heavily invested into it and trying to force love to happen. And I think also it was me getting caught up. I'm a big sucker for words. I love a good like, oh, you're so special to me, and I'm like a big words of affirmation. It's one of my love languages. So like, I look back on my 20s and I look at every situation, whatever that I found myself in. It's because I've gotten caught up in the words, but the actions weren't there. But I've made myself believe, well, the words mean everything. So like, he wouldn't say it if he didn't mean it. Now I'm like, oh, now he was just full of shit. Like, now it was just like that. He didn't do it because he didn't really mean it.
Raise your hand if you've been there, though.
No, but like more than I've been there more than like I in my 20s I had to call myself the ignore red flag queen because a red flag could be right here next to this mic and I'm like, what red? What do you mean? Don't see red. Do you see red? I see green.
What do you mean he's over 6 feet? It's pink. A red flag.
What do you mean I haven't heard from him in 3 days? He's busy.
Yeah, very, very busy right now. The other part that I don't think a lot of women like to talk about is that when you know you're a prize, you convince yourself that he's going to understand that too.
Girl,
that's a bar.
It's easy to say, oh, I'm the prize. Yes. I'm the prize. But it's different to actually live in that.
Yep.
Looking back and feeling more confident, more sexy, and more just sure of myself in my 30s, I know I'm the prize, but I look back on my 20s and there were a lot of times where I was trying to prove myself as the prize to someone who refused to see it. And you think, oh, if I stay a little bit longer, he'll figure it out. Oh, if I do a little bit more, he'll figure it out. If I don't trip on the fact that I haven't heard from him in a week, he'll be like, oh, she's so cool, she's so chill, I love her. Like none of it works.
None of it.
Like if you are under the age of 30, none of it works. It does not work. It just drains your energy.
It drains your essence.
Yes, your divine femininity. That's right. I think for me, one of the things I promised myself going into my 30s was to live in that. Not just to say I am the prize,
good for you,
but to live in it.
And that's to hold yourself. You have to, because here's the problem. When you're so busy convincing someone that you're the prize, you're also at the same time telling them that I don't even think that I'm worthy of it. Like, you are literally sitting there saying that, like, I'm not acting like the prize. Because let me tell you where the prize wouldn't be, right here.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a Trey Songz song. It's a piece of Boardwalk Empire. I don't know if you guys remember that show came on HBO. And the couple is arguing back and forth.
Lucky Luciano.
Yes. And the wife is arguing with him about like not coming home or like flirting with someone out. And he said, you know what? You make a little noise every now and then to remind me that you don't deserve this, that you're too good to be here. But let me tell you something. A good person wouldn't be here right now. And to hear that man just say it out of his mouth, like, you make a little noise every now and then. Wow. But a good person wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So relax and be quiet.
Dang. That's heavy though.
That's
because, you know what?
Heavy.
But it's true though. I used to
heavy.
think, and I discussed this in therapy a lot. I've always been guilty of like, oh, when the whole ghosting thing goes and he disappears for a week, oh, he's just busy. We're all busy. He's a lot going on. And the first time is the last time. And I used to think, no, the first time, the second time, the third time. Yeah. And then the third time you start trying to like rah, rah, rah. And he's like, I'm going to need you to sit down because you ain't
do this.
You weren't doing this before. And you're not going anywhere. Yeah. Right. So it's about having those boundaries and really like living in them. Listen, My birthday twin is Lori Harvey. I gotta stop playing games.
Hello?
Because my good sis knows what she's doing. And listen, Capricorn gang, January 13th gang. She got the formula, and I gotta stop playing with myself.
Because she just applied it. She moved like the prize.
Listen, move like the prize.
She moves like the prize. Listen. She doesn't just look like it. She doesn't just act like it. She takes care of herself as such.
I'm here for it.
But you know what? We live and we learn.
That's right.
I'm going to pray over your 30s. I am going to pray that you experience true love.
Oh,
I do too.
I think that it is something that will, it does something to you. Sometimes it ends up phenomenal. Sometimes it ends in heartbreak. But either way, to experience, there's a piece of you that lives differently. I always say that for me, I love being in a relationship really, truly, because there's a piece of me that comes out that I otherwise don't see. Girl, I live by myself. I don't go to the grocery store. I order my shit. I don't cook. I tell people, they're like, you don't cook? I'm like, listen, I know. I'll go. This one got a chef. I'm over there. I'm gonna order. This one, I'm going out on 3 dates a week, so I'm getting a dinner date. I have all these excuses, all these things. But when I'm in love and when I'm in a relationship, I wanna make a meal. Yeah. I want him to see that I'm capable. I wanna, and there are pieces of me that otherwise just don't come out. I'm okay with them not coming out until I'm in a relationship. I'm like, damn, there's a softer side of you that's really fly. Because you're around someone that makes you feel safe and secure and comfortable, you're able to try.
Those layers have been unraveled.
Correct. 100%. So I'm going to pray that over you in your 30s. Yes. For sure. Lex, you got a last time question for her before we get out of here?
I do. I'm a huge sunrise and sunset lover. It's therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
Nah, for real, on her gram at least 3 times a week. She wakes up at the beach and puts it on her gram.
I love that. I wake up and it's just literally right in front of me. So I have no choice but to see what God has in store for me today.
And everyone's different, right? It's never the same.
Every single one is different. Yeah. It's such a beautiful experience. So I want to know, when was the last time you saw a sunrise?
So my sunsets are more therapeutic and meditating and just beautiful. Last time I saw a sunrise was coming back from Booby Trap on the river.
Hello?
Miami.
It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I remember driving back from the spot, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. I got my Dior bags filled with $500 worth of ones that I didn't use, and I'm like, wow, this sunrise is gorgeous. I just paid someone's tuition. Gorgeous sunrise.
Guilty.
That's the only time I ever see a sunrise. Or if I have to wake up early to catch a flight for work, like a filming or something like that. But yeah, it was coming back from Booby Trap on the river, and I had a moment in the car.
That's a different sunrise too.
I had a moment in the car.
That's a different sunrise.
Girl, I was driving. I was like, this is gorgeous.
Deeper appreciation.
I just left a freaking hole in the wall with blue lights, green lights, neon lights, just ass everywhere. And I'm just like, thank you, God. This is gorgeous.
This is wonderful.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Because I walked out of Booby Trap on the river and I saw the moon and the sun.
It was a spiritual moment.
You're like, what is going on right now?
It was a spiritual moment. I felt like that's how most sunrises happen in Miami. I feel like it's very on brand. So.
And mine is just naturally waking up with the sunrise.
Oh no, not mine.
Into the beach.
I was up. I was up for sure. I was up. Yeah.
Yo, that is amazing. I love
that. Hilarious.
Ashley, thank you for coming.
Of course.
Kicking it with us and the girl. I know you got all that male energy, but sometimes you got to come get the girl.
I do.
Yes.
Listen.
You got to come get the female energy.
Too much testosterone around me sometimes.
We got you.
For sure. Definitely. Super grateful. Anytime you want to come back, shoot shits with us, you know where to find us.
Yeah.
We might figure out a way to do some little collab with those men over there.
Yeah. We should, for sure.
Do a little gang up on them.
We should.
Let them know you got some support.
I'm here for it. Yeah. Listen, we got to start bringing the girls in these spaces so that, those walls and those barriers and those ceilings are broken down so that the next generation knows, don't let these boys play you now.
Yeah, because we got a nice presence.
We do. Listen, we say it and we mean it, and I'm here for it. So.
Amen. Ash, before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
Okay.
Also, wait, any other projects coming up? I feel
Yeah,
like you
anything
got
going
some
on?
stuff
What
brewing.
else?
Is there anything you can say yet? Do you want to wait?
I don't know. I got to call my agents this week and actually find out.
Okay,
So
all right.
I'll go
Good.
back to you on
So
that.
let's do this. We know that they can find you weekly on the I Am Athlete podcast.
Yes.
Where can they
Beautiful.
find you on socials?
Very easy at Nicole Moss. Twitter. I say some crazy things on Twitter. Also on Instagram, it's the same at Nicole Moss. So
Dope.
Perfect.
yeah.
Awesome. Thanks
Tap
for
in.
coming.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, ladies. Cheers.